Hello everyone, welcome to the Travel Coach, moving body, mind and spirit. My guest today is a lifelong learner who has earned her Master Cruise Counselor and Certified Travel Counselor among other travel awards and designations, including her Certified Travel Industry Executive. She loves customizing unique travel experiences and adventures, as well as mentoring, teaching, and speaking at conferences and meetings on a host. Living in Europe one day is a goal, but for now, she travels every chance she gets. Trish Gastineau, welcome to the Travel Coach.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's my pleasure, Trish. Thank you for joining us today. So I would like to start, before starting to go on this amazing concept we're going to talk today, I would like to get started. If you can tell us a bit about you and your relationship with travel growing up. What are the memories you have from that phase of your life?
Well, my father was in the military. He was in the Navy. So I started out very young traveling around the United States. We lived in Hawaii twice. We've lived in Japan. We lived on the island of Guam. And what I remember the most is getting to meet new people and make new friends all the time. We got exposed to, different cultures, different foods, different kinds of music. And that was natural for us as children, is me and my sister and my mom and my dad. And we moved sometimes every year and a half, and sometimes, it was 2 or 3 years, but usually we didn't stay any place longer than, I think probably no longer than, I think we spent 3 years in Guam, on the island of Guam. But that's just what I remember about growing up. I just thought that was normal. I thought everybody did it because everybody we were around did that.
That's awesome. So how old were you more or less when all this, from what age?
The first time that we moved, I was probably about 6 weeks old.
Okay.
And so, I started really young. We moved when I was 6 weeks old, and then we moved again to California, and then my little sister came along. And so then when we moved there, my sister was maybe a year old, and we moved to Hawaii. So that would have made me about 3 or 2.5, 3, well, probably about 3. And so when I was a young child, we moved like this.
All your life you've been.
Oh, yeah.
So were you aware of this privilege that you had as a child, or you said I thought it was normal, or you were you saw other children that were not traveling? How was your awareness of that?
Like I said, we just thought it was normal because the other people that we were around that were in the military as well, they were also doing the same thing. And then, we lived, like in Japan, we didn't live on the base. We lived out on the economy in a Japanese neighborhood, and we interacted with people. And we just really thought that was normal. The first time that I had an inkling that was not normal was probably I was about 6 or 7, and we flew back into the United States to visit family in Tennessee. And all of my cousins, we had a very large family, lots of aunts, lots of uncles, lots of cousins, and we got to really meet them for the first time. And I realized they didn't move. They lived there always. And this is where they were. So they thought we were weird. They thought it was awful having to move like that. But, it really set me up for a career that I loved. I can't imagine not traveling or meeting new people or experiencing new customs and cultures and music and food. That makes me happy.
I assume that this was an important part of the decision of being a travel professional in your life. But what would you say, because I know that many people are thinking, that traveling with kids or they are hesitating to move them because they are so young. What are the benefits of what did you learn? What were the experiences that travel gave you as a kid to you and your sister that your cousins didn't have, for example?
Well, so I can make friends pretty quickly or make a connection with somebody pretty quickly. I will go up to somebody and I'm not usually afraid to say hello and smile at them. And then if they seem like they're receptive, speak to them. And then I look for some kind of a connection. We both liked something or we both lived someplace or something like that, because if you can find that connection, then you maybe make friends a little bit faster. And I learned quickly that I either needed to make friends or I was going to be lonely. I find that people who traveled as children have an easier time than adults who have never traveled who then start to travel. I think that children are very resilient and they're very open to learning new experiences and new ways of doing things. As we get older, we tend to get rigid in what we like and what we have to have, and kids are just not like that. They're just like, oh wow, that's cool, and they move on. So it's actually pretty easy to travel with children most of the time.
That's great you said that. I love that. So when did you realize that you wanted to do travel as a profession?
Oh goodness. So I was a young married woman with a daughter, and a little boy, little stepson. And my husband also grew up in a family that moved a lot. And it's funny because they lived in Europe and in Africa. And my family did the U.S. and the Pacific, but we both had the same kind of a lifestyle. And I would tell my husband, I was like, we have got to go someplace. We've got to go somewhere. I'm getting itchy. I want to travel. And I was working, I worked in a restaurant for a while, and then I worked in an office. And this is how long ago this was. I was reading the newspaper and the want ads, and I saw an ad for travel agent. And I thought, I could do that. I've traveled my whole life. I could do that. And I'm embarrassed to say that I went to the wrong travel agency. I had an interview and I couldn't even get to the right travel agency. But that got me to where I started thinking about it. And then I went to travel school, and I did that and was hired by an agency that sold only cruises right out of travel school. Went to an agency that did mostly corporate travel, business travel, and they were starting to get into vacation and leisure travel, and so I was their vacation cruise person. Transitioned and went to another job where I was eventually able to work myself up to being a manager. And along the way, I really love the travel industry and I love learning things. So along the way, like I would take specialty courses and different training things and just trying to better myself and learn. And the one thing about the travel industry, at least here in the United States, I can't talk about other places. There is not a prerequisite course that you have to take in the United States to become a travel advisor or be a travel agent. Anybody could just say, I'm a travel agent, and get whatever local license is required, and there you go. And there's no continuing education requirement, which scares me a little bit. But I decided for myself I wasn't going to do that. I was going to try to learn as much as I could so that I could help people and feel more confident in my ability. So that's kind of how I got into it, and then just progressed over the years. When the agency that I was managing closed after 9/11, I went out on my own. Worked briefly for an agency in-house because I got lonely working on my own. But now I'm back out on my own, and I really do love it and have a nice network of colleagues that we meet sometimes in person, but we keep in touch on Facebook and do Zoom meetings and things like that.
Yeah, that's so important to keep learning and improving and differentiate, because from your experience, how many years? I know you started very early. So I know you're,
So I started
ex-professional
in
for a long time.
1993.
Uh,
And so it's, what is that, 27, 28 years? So it's been a little bit of time. So
yeah,
yeah.
I suppose travel has changed a lot as well, and you've been in
Oh,
different
yes. Yes.
places. Yeah, well, and I know as well that you have a special passion for a kind of travel, which is the multi-generational travel. So this is
Yes.
what I would like to talk today, here a bit more. So first of all, how would you describe what is multi-generational travel?
Multi-generational travel is when you have more than one age group of people traveling together. When I think of multi-generational travel, I'm thinking of families. And that could be the grandparents, the adult children, and the grandchildren is typically some combination of that. Usually the grandchildren and the grandparents are the main component, and then oftentimes the adult children will be there, the parents. So it's, for me, the people that I work with, typically we're going to Europe because that's my specialty. And so I get families traveling with the tweens, the 10, 11, 12, and up to college age children, is mostly who I'm working with. I don't have a lot of people traveling with very young children. And I think that is, a lot of that is because my main clients are the grandparents, the older set. So, but I love that. I love the memories that families make together. And the one thing that I think is so important nowadays is I see grandparents going to visit their grandchildren. They will get on an airplane or drive for hours to go and visit their children and grandchildren. And when they get there, the grandchildren are often still going to school, they're going to band practice, they're going to ball games, they're going and playing with their friends, they've got their iPads or their phones, and they're still connected. So while the grandparents are there and physically seeing the children, there's not that connection. And when you go away together someplace, you're out of your routine, you're not in the everyday, and the parents and the grandparents and the children actually have the opportunity to stop and look at each other and experience things together. And that makes me so happy that these memories are being made. And then, God forbid, eventually people start passing away, because that's just the way life is. But the memory of those trips lives on and just continues for generations. If you've got grandkids that then tell their kids and their grandkids about the time that they went away with their mom and dad and their grandparents all together, or that it was just them and their grandparents and they got to travel together. Those are special memories that just live on. I love that. I think that that's so important.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, right? Because the grandparents, they do this trip, but they go to the house and the kids are doing their routines. As you said, that they are not on holidays. They are not changing anything. So they don't get the quality time together.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting you said it's the grandparents, because I was wondering that who are the ones that make this decision, or they have the desire to do this trip, were the moms, the dads, the kids, the grandparents. So are the grandparents the ones who actually want to do that? Usually, from your experience, you said, yeah?
From my experience, the grandparents are usually the ones that initiate it and are paying for it. And it not always. Sometimes it's the adult children that do it, but by and far, in my experience, it's the grandparents that either have decided to take the kids to Europe, or on a cruise, or they decided to take the whole family and do a family reunion and they all go back. And it could be, a family heritage thing. We've had people that have taken their grandkids to Italy because they were Italian ancestry, but I've also had people taking their grandkids because that's where they honeymooned and that's what they loved, and they wanted to take their grandkids and introduce them to that and share their experiences with them and talk to them about how it's changed over the decades. But yes, in my experience, it typically is the grandparent that initiates it.
So, what do you think is the main obstacle to create this trip? Because I imagine maybe the grandparents very excited, and maybe the teenagers saying, "I'm busy, I'm gonna go with my friends. I prefer to do other things." What's the main obstacle, and how you help them to overcome that?
Well, what we try to do if we get that. I can't do it. My schedule's too tight. That seems to be the big one, especially if you've got multiple families with children and they're in different school districts or different ages, and their class schedules might be different or vacation schedules. We can, work on that and try to figure that out. But the oh gosh, I don't want to do this, that sometimes we get with teenagers. Or even adult children, honestly, sometimes they're just like, oh my gosh, this is not the way I want to spend my vacation. What I try to do is talk with everybody and find out as much about them as I can, what their interests are, things that they've liked on other vacations, things that they haven't liked on other vacations. Find out, for the kids or even the adults, what kind of music they like. What kind of sports they like. And then I start to put together a customized itinerary that has a little bit of something for everybody, so that it's not just, some people think of going to Europe and they think of visiting churches and museums and that's all you're doing. And a lot of times that's what, this mental picture is, and people are like, I really don't want to do that. What I try to do is balance that out. Maybe we put a concert in if there's somebody likes, or follows, we'll do that. I just spoke with somebody a couple of weeks ago whose children really like soccer and follow two teams in England, and one child likes one team and the other one likes the other. And so we were looking at how to incorporate them getting to go to a match while they were there. Sometimes I try to put in a cooking class because that is a good way for hands-on activity and an opportunity for bonding. We do history and do those things, but if I have to do something that feels like or a little heavy, museums or something like that, I try to do those early in the day, especially if we have younger children, because younger children have more self-control in the morning or in the day when we first start out. And then we get that and we go do that and we enjoy that. And then we go and we have lunch and let the kids kind of release them a little bit. And maybe we do a bike tour then in the afternoon. We try to do a little bit of an ebb and flow, so not everybody has to stay together the whole entire time. Maybe the grandparents would like to go off and do something, and the mom and dad and the kids want to go off and do something else, and we arrange that, and then we bring them back together for dinner, and everybody talks about what they did. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that the whole family has to stay together for 7 days. We can do a little bit of an ebb and flow thing and try to accommodate for people who have some people are very energetic and want to be go, 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 go. And other people are a little bit more laid back and relaxed. Sometimes it's the older people that are go, 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 and it's the younger people that need to, but we just take those things into consideration and we just kind of massage this trip and try to make it something that the younger people enjoy and the older people enjoy, and then everybody at the end has something that they've enjoyed. That's the goal.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. So it's just thinking out of the box, because when you want to, do things that everybody's going to be happy, but they have different energies. So just it's so simple, like, okay, some time separated. So you don't need to
Yeah.
go all together doing everything the same. So maybe you enjoy things more in the morning, and then in the night you want to do everybody, wants to go to sleep and the other wants to do another activity, and it's totally fine.
Yeah, it's that's it. We don't want to box anybody in, make anybody feel uncomfortable. And, yeah, we might go see something that you want to do today, but maybe tomorrow we go see the thing I want to see. And we compromise a little bit. Maybe there's different physical activity comfort levels there. So maybe we do bicycle rides, but maybe not everybody can do that. Maybe we do a Segway tour. If the kids are old enough, then we can usually do a Segway, and that's fun. Sometimes we get antique cars and do tours in antique cars, golf carts, Vespas. It just really depends on what's available, but we look for things that are going to be maybe a little bit unique, something that they can go home and brag about.
And create these memories. What are the benefits, or why everybody should do these kind of trips?
I personally, I think that the benefit is that you get the time together as a family to connect. 20, 30 years ago, it was people lived closer together and they saw their family more often, and maybe, lived in the same town. And now that's not necessarily always the case. And like I said, now when we go to see children, I know that there are kids that are in 3 or 4 different activities at one time. Whereas when I was growing up, like, you did basketball and maybe you did piano lessons or something, but you didn't do a lot of things all at once. And it seems like now that our lives, we have a lot more competing there, and that the children especially, and the adults too, belong to more clubs or going out. Now the pandemic has really changed a lot of that, and so people have been staying more at home. But I think that the benefit is the connection of the family and the building of the memory, that it's hard to get that when you're trying to do that. And unless you all leave the normal of the home, if you go visit somebody else, their household is still running and they're still going to be distracted. So that's what I think the advantage is.
Do you have any special, a trip or any story that is close to your heart that you want to share with us?
I just know that travel has made a difference for so many of my clients over the years. One of the very first memories that I have of that is when I was managing, and I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and there was a lady, and this one was initiated by the adult daughter, and her dad was going to have a big birthday, and they decided to all go together on a trip. And I think, and I may have it wrong, but I think that they went to California, because it's been a long time ago. And they went and they had a great time and came back, and she bought me a little coffee cup and a thank you note and some pictures of their trip, and just said how wonderful it was that they had these memories together. Another time that I had somebody that I really knew that I touched them through travel was I had a couple that they had been dating, and it was they got married. It was their second marriage, and I did their honeymoon for them and did a couple of other little trips. And then they were going on an anniversary trip, and I think it may have been for their second wedding anniversary, because they hadn't been married very long, and we put a nice trip together for them. They had a great time, and then all of a sudden I didn't hear from her for a while, and I reached out to her and found out that her husband had died. He had a heart attack. And she said that the trip that I had done for them meant so much to her, and they had gone to San Francisco, and she said that when she saw movies or news reports or anything and it had the San Francisco skyline in it, that she had that, I'm getting chill bumps. She had that memory of the time that she and her husband had there and spent, and how much fun that they had together. And that that trip, as well as the other trips that I helped them with, were something that she was going to have for the rest of her life, even though she didn't have her husband for as long as she had wanted. That just the note, I still have the note that she sent to me that just makes me tear up and gives me chill bumps when I think about that. That those are things that I get to participate in other people's lives and help to hopefully make a positive difference.
Yeah, that's at the end is what we will have, the experiences, the memories, and this is why we should do more of them.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing this, Trish. It's a very moving story, and just it describes, right, why we should live more. Sometimes we are too focused on working and, the routine, and we don't have this time away, as you described at the beginning, away from the routine, and spend quality time with our loved ones and family and the people we want.
I feel very blessed to be in this industry.
Yeah.
I really do. I've met so many wonderful people.
Yeah. Okay, Trish, you know that I love collecting hidden gems from all around the world. So from the place you are, or where do you live, what do you think people should go that is a must to see, that maybe is not that famous or that well known? What would you recommend?
When you and I talked about this, and I thought, because I've lived all over the place, it's, hard to think of something. So I sat here, just got quiet for a few minutes, and I really thought back to my mom's hometown, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we had lived there for a while. And I thought, since you and I were going to talk about multi-generational travel, I thought, what would I tell somebody who had a multi-generational family trip and wanted to be in that area of Eastern Tennessee? And I thought, I would say Chattanooga, Tennessee. I would say stay downtown in one of the hotels that were in that area, and possibly do something like assuming that you were going to have a vehicle to get around, I would say stay someplace maybe like a Residence Inn, so that you would have a kitchen and be able to have snacks for children and teenagers and even adults, for us to have our coffee available. But to be able to be there in that town and be walkable and be right there with the new ballpark for the minor league baseball team. The Creative Discovery Museum is there, which is a hands-on interactive museum for children. There's the famous Chattanooga Choo Choo that you can go down and see the hotel and where the rail station used to be, and some of the rail cars. You can get in the car and go up the road a little bit, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and go see the Lost Sea, which is an underground cave with a big thing of water, and you can go on a boat, and then you get in there and they'll turn the lights off and it's pitch black, and they've got fish in there, and that's really interesting. It's a very 2-hour drive to get up to Nashville, Tennessee, and see things there. So I think that would be the hidden gem in that area for me. That would be my hometown. I would stay in Chattanooga, go to Lookout Mountain, Ruby Falls, go to the Lost Sea, visit Nashville, go to the Grand Ole Opry. That's what I think I would suggest.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. We take notes of all this. I can't wait to explore it myself. Trish, what is the best way to contact you if anybody wants to reach out to you?
The best way is by email. And that is Trish at simplycustomizedtravel.com. And then otherwise, they can call me or send a text message on my phone number. I'm looking over here to make sure I get it right. It's area code 239-494-5226. We're here in the United States, so the country code is 1. Or they can reach out to me on social media. We are on Facebook, where we have an Instagram account, we have LinkedIn. So under Simply Customized Travel or my name, Trish Gastineau, they could reach out in those ways too.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Trish. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board the Travel Coach today.
Oh, it was wonderful to be here. I feel so honored and excited that you invited me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And everybody tuning in, happy and safe travels. Bye, Trish. Thank you
Bye.
again. Bye.